I'm sure that at this point, you will want to know how everything plays out, right? Then sit back and enjoy. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Kensuke Hanasaki is your average high schooler who is part of the Boy Detectives Club, a private investigative firm that tackles both major and minor cases. One evening, a lady gets attacked by two men across a street, and Hanasaki arrives just in time to prevent the lady from being abducted. At first, his presence makes both men let go of the lady, and after some seconds of fighting Hanasaki, both men run away, leaving the lady behind. Meanwhile, Yoshio Kobayashi, a young teenager, tries his best to kill himself by stabbing his throat with glass, but his plan fails as the glass shatters upon reaching his neck. After Kobayashi finds out that he is still alive, he yells in disappointment and craves death. Minutes after Hanasaki is done fighting both men, the lady is confirmed safe, and Hanasaki hands her his card in case anything bothers her in the future. The following day, an aircraft flies over the city and releases a mechanized robot that instills fear in the civilians around. Elsewhere, Kogoro Akechi, the founder of the Boy Detectives Club, moves in a car to a specific location, and while at it, Inoue, a member of the investigative firm, drives the car, and they both receive intel about the robot in the city from Detective Nakamura, a female cop. Detective Nakamura offers Akechi a job to solve the case of the robot, and to her surprise, Akechi is already aware of the robot in the city. Soon, the conversation with Detective Kakamura comes to an end, and Inoue drops Akechi just in front of a skyscraper. Meanwhile, Hanasaki embarks on a chase, aided by a mechanized owl controlled by Noro, a member of the firm. Noro provides information on what path Hanasaki should follow to find what or who he is looking for. During the chase, Noro hacks into the security system of the building Akechi arrived at and provides him the password to access the building from behind. However, with the aid of the password, Akechi gains access to the building and meets a bunch of tech operatives trying to analyze the robot situation. Soon, Akechi points a gun at a tech operative, and it looks as if he used the robot as a decoy to get access to the system personally. Because Akechi holds a gun pointed at 20 Faces, the man disguised as a tech operative, all other tech operatives become terrified and run out of the room. Soon, 20 Faces triggers a gas that blocks the sight of Akechi and evades the scene before the gas clears out. Elsewhere, Hanasaki continues his chase, and it turns out that he is chasing after a female dog named Melodina. After some time, Hansaki catches up with the dog, but the dog runs off to an abandoned building before he can get hold of the dog. Meanwhile, Akechi tells Inoue about his mission, adding that he blew it. After that, Inoue tries to predict the best route that 20 Faces could have used to get out of the building quickly. Minutes later, Akechi meets a man at a table in a restaurant and points a gun at him under the table. It turns out that the man is responsible for the robot's actions in the city, and after some time, Akechi gets served his favorite tea under the orders of the man. Elsewhere, Hanasaki arrives at the abandoned building and meets the dog groaning against Kobayashi. Seconds later, Kobayashi warns Hanasaki to stay away from him, but the dog does not listen. Rather, she charges toward Kobayashi and gets killed by Kobayashi's invisible force field in the process. After the dog dies, Kobayashi yells, telling Hanasaki that he warned him to stay away, and then he leaves the abandoned building by jumping several stories to the ground. When Hanasaki observed that Kobayashi jumped, he did not believe his eyes as Kobayashi landed successfully on the ground and took off. Elsewhere, the meeting between Akechi and the man comes to an end as they both call it quits for the day. After Kobayashi gets to a safe location, he holds a gun to his mouth and pulls the trigger, but he does not die. Rather, he chokes on the bullet and spits it out of his mouth. Later that day, Detective Nakamura successfully recovers the robot and looks pissed because the robot had no explosives as suspected earlier. At sunset, Hanasaki arrives at Kobayashi's location and tries to talk to him. When Kobayashi notices Hanasaki's presence, he jumps off another skyscraper to the ground and lands safely without dying. Soon, Hanasaki jumps off the skyscraper and uses his tools to assist his landing. After that, Hansaki continues to chase after Kobayashi till the point where Kobayashi gets tired from running. Following that, Hansaki aims a soft drink at Kobayashi, but the drink gets sliced in half by Kobayashi's force field. At this point, Hanasaki finds his situation amusing as he falls to the ground as a result of Kobayashi's forces field. Soon, it gets dark, and Hanasaki drops a soft drink just beside Kobayashi, and they both enter into a conversation concerning Kobayashi's powers. Soon, their conversation comes to an end as Hanasaki detects an explosion that occurs miles away from him. As Hanasaki leaves to the point of impact, he forgets his wallet on the ground beside Kobayashi and dashes off. While on his way, he gets on a call with Inoue and Noro speaking about the route from earlier. Hanasaki suspects that 20 Faces is up to something, but Inoue tells Hanasaki not to act on his own. At this point, Hanasaki does not heed Inoue's wishes, and as a result, he arrives at the site where the explosion occurs and tries to save a civilian trapped in the fire. Meanwhile, Kobayashi arrives just outside the site, and Inoue heads to the site as well in his car. Back at the site, Kobayashi gets inside and finds Hanasaki lying unconscious beside a man who begs for help. Because Kobayashi cannot help the man, the man gets pissed and aims a spanner at Kobayashi, but the spanner gets destroyed in the process. Because of that, the man freaks out and looks terrified because of Kobayashi's powers. Seconds later, Hanasaki regains consciousness and saves the man from the fire. Even after the man can get out of the building alive, he does not appreciate Hanasaki. Rather, he insults both Kobayashi and Hanasaki and runs away. Minutes after that, Hanasaki offers Kobayashi the opportunity to join the Boy Detectives Club, adding that if he joins, he promises to kill him. One thing leads to another, and Hanasaki tries to shake Kobayashi after finding out his name. As a result, the force field tosses Hanasaki to the ground. Inoue, who arrives at the scene at this point, gets the wrong impression and thinks that Kobayashi attacked Hanasaki, then points a gun at Kobayashi. Following that, Inoue loses his mechanized leg because Kobayashi goes berserk on him and runs away. The following day, Akechi charges Detective Nakamura an additional fee as she tries to find out what 20 Faces is after. Meanwhile, Kobayashi lies alone at a scum and checks the wound on his hand. After some days, a lady arrives at the firm seeking Akechi's services, but she meets Inoue and Hanasaki instead, as Akechi is not available. Soon, she relays her complaint stating that her boyfriend who is living with her possesses threatening letters, and she adds that her boyfriend does something in secret, and she wonders what it is. She also adds that she found the letters on her boyfriend's desk, but has no clue who the letters are for. Hours after the meeting with the lady, Hanaki proceeds to handle the case, and he spies on the lady's boyfriend from a distance on a rooftop. While on Hanasaki's spying mission, Inoue gets on a call with him and asks if he has seen any weird activity from the lady's boyfriend, but in response, Hanasaki states that he can't tell, adding that he will talk to the lady's boyfriend in person. The lady's boyfriend works at a roadside restaurant, and Hanasaki gets to the restaurant to place an order for food. While interacting with the boyfriend, he notices nothing suspicious about him, and then he reports his observations to Inoue, who is in school at the time. During the call with Inoue, Hanasaki states that the lady's boyfriend does not have the face of someone who would send threatening letters, adding that his face looks pure. After Inoue gets this info from Hanasaki, he makes a joking remark never to ask Hanasaki for his opinion again. When it is time for Hanasaki to pay for his meal, he discovers that he does not have his wallet, and someone offers to lend him some. Meanwhile, Kobayashi searches a trash can for leftovers, and then arrives at a vending machine after some second. At this point, Hanasaki is left in a difficult position because he is hungry and his wallet is missing. Minutes later, Kobayashi arrives at a spot after using money from Hanasaki's wallet to buy food from a vending machine. However, when Kobayashi tries to have his meal, the food container splits in half, and as a result, the food pours onto the ground. Also, Hanasaki laughs from a rooftop because he sees the food pour to the floor. Seconds later, Hanasaki comes down from the roof and tries to convince Kobayashi to join him on a mission, but he declines, stating that Hanasaki should go away. Along the line, Hanasaki receives info that the lady's boyfriend is moving, and then Hanasaki manages to convince Kobayashi to help him tail the man. After some time on the road, the lady's boyfriend arrives at a skyscraper to deliver an order, and the security lets him into the building. Elsewhere, Hanasaki and Kobayashi try to catch up with the man, and on the way, Hanasaki gets curious and asks about Kobayashi's background, including the origin of his powers. In response, Kobayashi replies stating that he does not remember anything, and then Akechi drops info stating that the nature of the threat letters smells funny. He adds that the threat letters smell like oil, and Noro agrees, stating that the man works at a restaurant. Along the line, Akechi discovers that the clues are too obvious to lead back to the man, and if someone wants to do something like that, he will leave no clues behind. Moments later, Kobayashi and Hansaki arrive at the building where the lady's boyfriend is present. When they both get into the building, they encounter difficulties from the security guard, but Inoue arrives just in time in his wheelchair and bails Hanasaki out. For some reason, Kobayashi is not present at the scene because he wanders off to get access to the building from the back. Seconds later, Kobayashi gains access to the building and he steals food to satisfy his hunger at the time. At the building, an event is about to take place and the lady's boyfriend gives word that the catered meal is ready. After some time, Hansaki arrives at Kobayashi's position and finds him eating food from the pot. After Kobayashi ingests food from the pot, he spits it out immediately and states that there is something inside the pot that should not be eaten. Soon, the lady's boyfriend arrives at the scene and finds out that Kobayashi has taken from the food he made. Moving on, Hansaki states that there is poison in the food, and he questions the boyfriend why he put poison in the food. When Hanasaki makes this accusation, the man looks shocked and as though he is unaware of what is going on. Along the line, the boyfriend reveals that he insisted on delivering the food to the event over his master because he wanted everyone to know how great alkaline spring water is. Minutes later, Hansaki heads off with Kobayashi to find the lady because they suspect that the boyfriend is not the one behind the letters. Meanwhile, Inoue confirms that the lady is responsible for producing the water from the boyfriend, and after that, he tells him that the lady tried to frame him for a crime by making the threat letter and poisoning the food. When